Hey guys, it's DCHL Devin here, and welcome to another episode of List Building Tutorials. And today I'm actually going to go ahead and take over for Dave. The reason why is because he, along with many other representatives from different countries, are busy with the ETC. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically a world championship that is developing for the Hobbit SVG, and it is extremely exciting news. It's going to be the right now some of the details are a little sketchy, and it'll come out over time as things go on, but right now it's considered the 4 best of a country, or at least picked. Don't know how they're picked yet. There's a lot of details to be sorted out, but basically he's helping to work that out along with me and many other representatives of different countries. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into a Moria list. All right, now this one was asked for another Nova one. Once again, kind of expected that it should be for that. This is the DCHL after all, so we'll probably see a lot of Nova lists as we lead up to Nova. But this is an 800-point list. The restrictions are that you can only be a single faction, and with certain exceptions, basically for evil, it's actually pretty simple. You can have the 3 trolls, the Dark Denizens of Mirkwood, or you can have, I believe, there's like one more, independent characters from any other faction, and yeah, that might be about it. It's actually very small for the evil factions, what the exceptions of that rule actually is. So for Moria, I went ahead and made a list for you, and I consulted a bunch of other DCHL members and stuff like that just to kind of get it going, play tested it a little bit, and this is what I built out that I think would work as a solid Moria list. So there's 8 warbands, all right, and I'm going to give you the heroes first, all right? So it's 8 warbands led by Groblog, 2 Moria captains, 2 Moria shamans, 3 Gundabad Black Shields. All right, so that's all the heroes of the entire list, and then you're going to completely kit it out with as many Moria goblins as you can. All right, so it's 6 Moria goblins and 6 Moria goblins with spears. Don't give them shields. All right, so I just stacked on 6 sword ones, 6 spear ones, and then I threw in 1 Warg Marauder. Now, from the list you can see here, it is a total of 800 points. There are 98 models with a break limit of 49. So this list has a couple advantages that are fairly obvious. All right, number 1, it is extremely hard to break through. I don't know how many of you have tried to kill 49 models. It's a lot. That is a lot of models to kill. Even with many armies breaking and losing models to breaking, they don't lose 49 models. 49 models is generally the amount of models most armies have in their list, let alone just being the breaking point. So this helps you out in a lot of missions because at Nova, there are quite a few missions that give points for breaking an opponent. Now, you may have noticed in previous videos, we talked about mobility and general killing being some of the 2 most important factors for our Nova scenarios. However, in this list, you can actually deny a lot of that to your opponent, and you can still achieve it even though you don't technically have either. All right, so if you guys know from last Nova, GBHL Jamie actually encountered a Gondor list in the high ground scenario, I believe, and he actually lost the match just because the Gondor list wouldn't move. All right, and there's a lot of scenarios in Nova that hold around objective holding, and you gotta cape one point and maybe capture another. When you have 98 models, this is actually pretty easy to accomplish. You can swarm all over the place. Okay, so let me get into why I chose the list I chose, and then I'll get into how you play it in the scenarios. So as far as the list, Groblog allows it where you can save your might. You only have 11 points of might with this list, so you want to save it as much as possible, especially since you have so many models. So the Moria Goblin Shamans can just cast Fury, and they're good to go. Groblog himself adds 3 points of might, which is actually pretty nice. Otherwise, he should be kept away from the fight, in the back, safe from harm, stuff like that, behind your 98 goblins. This actually kind of makes him difficult to reach, though, the fact that you have 98 goblins. Even for magic casters on a Fell Beast, let's say, it still is kind of difficult to reach him. He doesn't need to be in any sort of range or anything like that unless you want to use his might. So next we have the Gundabad Shamans. This is actually a highly underrated unit. Now, when we're talking about some of the objectives, some of them reward your opponent for killing, for their hero, killing models. Also, there are some heroes like Aragorns and Boromirs who can actually slaughter a fair bit of goblins on their own without too much assistance. You need to be able to neutralize these heroes. What better way to neutralize them than to simply give them -1 to all their attack rolls? And this is exactly what the Gundabad Shamans do. Their shatter ability is definitely it's the winner. It's the winner of this list. Honestly, the fact that during playtesting, I shattered like King's Champions and Shield Bearers and all kinds of stuff, and they just weren't winning fights, they weren't getting their kills, they just weren't doing anything. So this is a fantastic little ability. Even beyond that, you also have Tremor, so if you are chasing down a list of Cav and stuff like that, Tremor can knock them to the ground and bring their horses down, or even potentially kill them with his turn 6 hit. However, Shatter should be your main one that you're using in most of your games. So other than that, the list is pretty simple. Now I threw in a random Warg Marauder. This is really for the final mission. He's just meant to carry the jewel. And he does add a tiny bit of speed in case you need it. But the reason he carries the jewel is because 1, he's not your most expensive model, so he can carry it. 2, he has 3 wounds, 3 attacks to defend himself with, and he has terror, making it harder to charge him. So this is why I chose him, just as a random add-in. If you take him out, you can get like 12 more goblins, but I just chose that. And if you're wondering why I didn't choose shields, it's strictly just a method to get more goblins in here. The more numbers you have, the more those shields really don't mean anything. Remember, Goblin Town is a highly effective list, and it has defense 3. Your guys still have defense 4, so it's still fine, and you're pretty immune to hurls. Not immune, but you're pretty resistant to it at that point. So that is the list, gentlemen. It's pretty simple, mass up and everything. You will need to play test it a little bit against an elite heavy force where your shatters will have to target way too many units. Obviously, Ringwraiths will resist your shatter, so in that case, you can just try Tremors and hope they fail it. Or you can shatter them. Either way is up to you. However, I believe when they're monstrous mounts, they might ignore this a little bit. But other than that, and by that I mean they'll just simply win the fight and hurl, by the way. They still get the -1 to their fight rolls and their to wound rolls. So other than that, you have most of your missions into war, which is the first mission. You have to kill more points worth of models than your opponent. And for this one, it's pretty obvious. Every model they kill of yours is 4 points. Every model you kill of theirs is at least double one of yours. So it's kind of easy to win that one. You should have a pretty good time with that. It also rewards for killing a general and the second most expensive model. For you, it would be a shaman, and your general would be Groblog, and you could pretty much keep them safe. Your shamans are already supposed to be kept safe in the back anyway. So next you have Sabotage, where you have to break enemy the objectives. You have to destroy them on the opposing side. And you got to hold an objective in the middle, and you have to... Now, there's also another one where you have to stop an opponent's general from killing your models, and you have to use your general to kill more of theirs. You really don't want Groblog in combat too much, but even if you were to, Shatter should help. Otherwise, you're probably forfeiting that one. With that in mind, you can still win the scenario. Just send 98 models toward your opponent. I mean, you have plenty to move anywhere you need to. You only need 1 model to destroy the objective. It's not too difficult. We did play test that, as well as Siege the City, which is basically domination. Now, in that mission, it says you need more points worth of models to secure the objective. But remember my example with GBHL Jamie, where he couldn't even get to the objective because there were too much defense holding him from it. In this case, the hope is that there's too many models. When we play tested the match, I ended up not even breaking, even though I was just losing models left and right. Still didn't even break, and I was completely slaughtering the opponent because remember, every time they lose a model, it's like painful because you have a huge horde, huge. So, and then, you know, the other ones are kind of fairly obvious. Kill the messenger, basically. it's kind of hard to break through 98 models for their messengers, and for you, it's kind of easy to escort them out. And then the jewel mission, use your Warg Marauder and try to escort him up the board to get to the opposing player's forge while you protect your own with 98 models. So if you guys have any questions about this, let me know. But overall, that is pretty much how the list functions. It actually uses some pretty rare choices, in my opinion, Gundabad Shamans, to really do a lot of the damage. All right, that Shatter, guys, practice that Shatter. It's really, really powerful, much more so than you might think. And other than that, you should be golden. If you're fighting a list without ring raise, your Shamans are now making it even harder for your 98 models to die. If you are fighting a list with ring raise, then you can go ahead and ignore the Fury since they're going to sap it. Or you can cast it and make them focus on that target. Let's say they only have one ring wraith. Casting Fury, making them focus on you might not be too bad idea. You're already taking up turns as they're just generating this power. Otherwise, focus on Transfix. If they have too many ring wraiths, just cast it. Maybe once on some kind of general or something that they have. And that is it, gentlemen. That's pretty much how you play this list. Let's say, and just a last little disclaimer, if you don't have Fury and you have to fight a terrifying army, you have so many models that you really will get some of your terror tests off. I know this sounds kind of vague, but I actually played a list once where it was like Hunter Orcs and such. No, actually, I played a Goblin Town list. And it was just so many models that I was passing enough of the rolls where it didn't really matter that I was failing half of my models, because the other half, which was like another 6 or 7 models, were still making it in. Or even if that third, you still get like 3 or 4. You're perfectly fine. Leave the spear supports, of course, to not charge in and hold the flanks. So anyway, guys, that is it for this list building tutorial. That is my Moria list. That's a list I would personally bring to Nova. But let me know if you have any modifications to that, any improvements to it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And let's go ahead to the next list building tutorial with Isengard. We'll actually do a real Isengard list this time. For those of you guys who see my That Guy video, we'll have a real one very soon. So see you very soon.